What if I told you there's a single bottle you can pour into your tank that could clean your injectors, your fuel lines, your intake valves, and even your combustion chambers without touching a wrench? Sounds like snake oil, right? And that's exactly why we test claims like this over real mileage. Not opinions, not ads, not marketing promises. If you want real tests instead of hype, make sure you're subscribed, because here's the twist. Real ASE certified mechanics have tested this claim, and some of them were genuinely stunned by the results. One small change improved idle smoothness, restored lost horsepower, and even reduced fuel consumption by up to 15% in some test vehicles, all for under $18. So does this miracle in a bottle actually work? Or is it just clever marketing designed to separate you from your money? By the end of this video, you'll know which fuel system cleaner passed the test, which ones failed miserably, and exactly how to use them safely, without damaging your fuel system in the process. And stay tuned, because one of these bottles literally cleaned a carbon-coated injector tip back to near-factory condition in just one tank of gas. Let's start with something most drivers don't realize. Your fuel system, from the pump all the way to the injectors, slowly gums up with carbon deposits, varnish, and microscopic residue from gasoline combustion. Even premium top-tier fuels leave some buildup behind. That accumulation doesn't happen overnight, but after 15,000 to 30,000 kilometers, it starts showing up as rough idle at stoplights, hesitation during acceleration, reduced fuel economy that you might blame on gas prices, poor cold starts on winter mornings, and sometimes that annoying check engine light for misfires or lean fuel trim codes. The question is, why does this happen in the first place if fuel is supposed to be clean? The answer lies in modern engine design. Direct injection engines, which now make up roughly 60% of new vehicles sold since 2018, spray fuel directly into the combustion chamber under extreme pressure, completely bypassing the intake valves. That means the detergents naturally present in gasoline never touch those valves anymore. In older port injection engines, fuel washed over the intake valves every time you drove, naturally cleaning them. But with direct injection, those valves accumulate carbon from blow-by gases, oil vapor from the PCV system, and exhaust gas recirculation. Over time, the buildup becomes so severe that it restricts airflow into the cylinder. When air and fuel don't mix in the correct proportions, you get incomplete combustion, lost power, increased emissions, and your engine slowly chokes itself to death. According to SAE International Research Paper 2011-01-2101, direct injection engines can accumulate up to 3 grams of carbon per valve after just 30,000 kilometers of city driving. That's roughly the weight of 3 paper clips per valve, and it's enough to cause measurable performance loss. Now here's where it gets expensive. Mechanics charge $400 to $900 for a professional intake valve cleaning service on direct injection engines. The process involves removing the intake manifold, accessing the valves, and manually scrubbing them with walnut shell blasting or chemical soak treatments. That's 4 to 6 hours of labor at shop rates. Or, and this is the part dealerships don't advertise loudly, you could prevent 90% of that buildup using a specific chemical additive that costs less than $20 and takes 5 minutes to pour into your tank. The chemical we're talking about has a name that sounds like a pharmaceutical drug: polyetheramine, or PEA for short. This is the gold standard active ingredient used by professional fuel system service companies. The same stuff dealerships charge you $200 to run through your fuel system using a pressurized machine. But if you've walked into any auto parts store, you've seen an entire shelf packed with colorful bottles of lies, claiming to clean injectors, boost octane, restore lost mileage, or fix rough idle. The brutal truth is that most of them are diluted alcohol and light detergent blends that do almost nothing beyond cleaning the inside of your gas tank. Some products are literally just isopropyl alcohol with food coloring and a fancy label. In fact, an independent study conducted by the Southwest Research Institute tested 18 popular fuel additives and found that only 4 made a measurable improvement in actual injector flow rate and spray pattern. The rest were essentially useless, or worse, potentially harmful to fuel system seals and O-rings because the solvents were too aggressive without the right stabilizing agents. So how do you separate the real cleaners from the marketing garbage? Look for one specific ingredient on the label or product data sheet: polyetheramine. PEA is a synthetic detergent molecule engineered specifically to dissolve carbon and varnish deposits in fuel systems. It works at the molecular level by breaking the chemical bonds that hold carbon particles together, allowing them to burn off harmlessly during combustion. The key difference between PEA and cheaper alternatives like polyisobutylene or PIB is that PEA actually removes existing deposits, while PIB only prevents new ones from forming. That's a critical distinction. If your engine already has carbon buildup, PIB won't help. You need PEA to reverse the damage. According to Chevron's fuel detergency research, PEA-based cleaners can remove up to 96% of injector deposits within 2 complete fuel tank cycles, something no alcohol-based product can match. When you pour a high-concentration PEA cleaner into your gas tank, it travels through your entire fuel delivery system, working on multiple components simultaneously. In the fuel tank itself, it breaks down varnish that forms when gasoline oxidizes and prevents corrosion on metal surfaces. Inside the fuel lines and fuel rail, it dissolves sticky gum deposits that restrict flow and mount and mess with fuel pressure regulation. At the injectors, it removes carbon crust from the spray nozzles, restoring proper atomization so fuel mists into a fine spray instead of dribbling in droplets. Inside the combustion chamber, it burns off hard carbon deposits from piston tops and cylinder heads that cause hot spots and pre-ignition knock. Even your oxygen sensors benefit because cleaner combustion means less soot coating the sensor elements, which keeps your ECU's fuel trim adjustments accurate. All of this happens automatically, circulating through the system every time the fuel pump runs. Now let's talk about what mechanics actually found when they tested this. A group of 6 ASE certified technicians from independent shops ran a controlled 4-month comparison on 5 leading fuel system cleaner brands. They selected vehicles from their regular customer base that were showing symptoms of carbon buildup, things like rough idle, hesitation, or fuel trim faults. Each vehicle got assigned one product, used according to label directions, and the technicians measured results using professional diagnostic tools including injector flow benches, emissions analyzers, and borescope cameras to visually inspect intake valves and combustion chambers. The products tested were Chevron Techron Concentrate Plus, Redline SI1 Complete Fuel System Cleaner, Lucas Deep Clean Fuel System Cleaner, Seafoam Motor Treatment, and Gumout Regain Complete Fuel System Cleaner. Here's what they found after 2 complete treatment cycles. Chevron Techron Concentrate Plus contains approximately 30 to 35% PEA concentration by volume. Test results showed it restored injector spray pattern uniformity by 89% on a 2016 Honda Civic with 95,000 kilometers showing misfire codes. Fuel economy improved by 7% over 800 kilometers of mixed driving. Borescope inspection of intake valves showed visible reduction in carbon deposits, though not complete removal. Cost per treatment was $14, treating roughly 75 liters of fuel. Redline SI1 Complete Fuel System Cleaner contains approximately 50% PEA, the highest concentration of any consumer product tested. Results showed 97% restoration of injector flow rate on a 2015 Volkswagen Jitsu Tiwaz, with direct injection that had been experiencing cold start issues and hesitation. Most impressively, intake valve inspection showed near-complete carbon removal after just 2 bottles used back-to-back. One mechanic stated this was the only product where he could actually see the difference on a borescope without any manual cleaning. Fuel economy gains averaged 11% across 3 test vehicles. Cost per treatment was $18 for 75 liters. Lucas Deep Clean showed minimal PEA content based on ingredient disclosure, likely under 10%. It produced mild improvement in fuel system cleanliness, mostly cleaning the fuel tank and lines, but showing almost no effect on intake valves or injector spray patterns. One mechanic noted it seemed to work more as a preventative maintenance product than a corrective treatment. Seafoam Motor Treatment contains no PEA at all, relying instead on petroleum distillates and isopropyl alcohol. It helped remove moisture from fuel systems and dissolved light varnish, but showed no measurable impact on heavy carbon deposits or injector performance. Emissions testing showed no improvement. One interesting finding was that Seafoam worked well as a preventative when used consistently from new, but couldn't reverse existing damage. Gumout Regain showed moderate PEA content around 20% and produced results falling between Techron and Lucas, with 72% injector improvement and minor valve cleaning. The surprise winner was Redline SY1 by a significant margin. When mechanics used an endoscope camera to inspect injectors before and after treatment, they documented that a single bottle restored spray pattern from an uneven dribbling cone back to a proper 15-degree fan pattern matching factory specifications. On one 2014 Toyota Camry with 140,000 kilometers, the owner reported that rough idle disappeared completely after 300 kilometers of driving with the cleaner in the tank, and fuel economy jumped from 9.2 liters per 100 kilometers to 8.3 liters per 100 kilometers, a 10% improvement that saved roughly $35 per month in fuel costs. When they pulled spark plugs after 2 complete treatment tanks, the electrode tips showed uniform light tan coloring instead of the previous black soot coating, indicating more complete combustion. One mechanic who had been skeptical said he wouldn't have believed it if he hadn't scoped the valves himself. So yes, there really is one bottle that lives up to the hype, and it's Redline SI1 Complete Fuel System Cleaner. The reason it works when others don't, comes down to simple chemistry. The 50% PEA concentration is roughly double what you find in Techron, and 5 times higher than budget products. That concentration mattered is because PEA works through direct chemical contact with carbon deposits. The more PEA molecules you have per liter of fuel, the faster and more thoroughly they clean. Each bottle treats 60 to 75 liters, depending on how concentrated you want the mixture. Mechanics in the test found that using one full bottle every 5,000 kilometers kept injectors spotless and maintained fuel economy at peak levels. One Subaru specialist reported using it on a 2013 WRX that had been showing NOx sensor faults from carbon buildup. After one bottle, the knock events dropped by 80% according to ECU logs, and the car stopped pulling ignition timing under boost. When he inspected the combustion chambers with a borescope, he could actually see shiny piston tops instead of the previous black crust. But here's where most people mess it up and then complain these products don't work. They pour the cleaner into a completely full 60-liter tank, diluting it down to ineffective concentration, then drive 5 kilometers to the grocery store in stop-and-go traffic and expect miracles. The problem is that when cleaner is diluted too heavily or never reaches high combustion temperatures, it can't chemically break down carbon deposits. It just passes through your system unused and exits through the tailpipe. According to Redline's technical documentation, PEA activation requires sustained combustion chamber temperatures above 180 degrees centigrade and consistent injector cycling under load. Translation? If you're not running your engine long enough or hard enough, you're wasting money. Here's the mechanic-approved method for actually getting results. Start with your tank at approximately 1/4 full, around 15 to 20 liters remaining. This ensures the cleaner concentration stays high enough to work effectively. Pour the entire bottle directly into the tank before fueling. Don't dilute it with water, don't mix it with other additives, and don't use half a bottle thinking you'll save the rest for later. The chemical concentration is calculated for 1 full bottle per tank. Fill your tank completely with top-tier gasoline. Use brands certified by top-tier like Chevron, Shell, Mobil, Costco, or Exxon. These fuels already contain enhanced detergent packages that work synergistically with PEA cleaners. Avoid discount gas stations for this particular tank because low-quality fuel can interfere with the cleaning process. Now here's the critical part. Drive on the highway for at least 30 to 45 minutes at consistent speed above 80 kilometers per hour. You need sustained high-temperature combustion to activate the PEA chemistry. Don't baby the engine. Accelerate normally, let it work through the rev range, and maintain highway speed. The higher exhaust gas temperatures literally burn off the loosened carbon deposits. For severely dirty engines, mechanics recommend doing 2 treatments back-to-back, meaning you run one bottle through a full tank, immediately add another bottle to the next tank, and repeat the highway driving. That aggressive approach often restores power and economy within 500 kilometers of driving. Then there's the second huge mistake, mixing multiple products thinking more cleaner equals better results. Some people pour in Seafoam plus Techron plus Octane Booster plus Fuel Stabilizer, creating a chemical cocktail that might actually neutralize the active ingredients or damage fuel system components. Each additive is formulated as a complete system. When you combine them, you're changing pH levels, solvent concentrations, and detergent chemistry in unpredictable ways. Stick with one proven product, 1 full bottle per tank, used on a regular schedule. That's what actually works according to every mechanic interviewed. So how do you know the cleaner is actually doing something? You should notice measurable changes within the first 150 to 300 kilometers. Idle quality improves noticeably, with the engine settling into a smooth, consistent rhythm instead of the previous shaking or hunting. Throttle response sharpens, especially from a stop or during passing acceleration where you previously felt hesitation or flat spots. Fuel economy increases by anywhere from 5 to 15% depending on how dirty the system was initially. You can verify this by resetting your trip computer and comparing average consumption over the next 500 kilometers. Engine noise decreases because carbon deposits act like rough sandpaper inside combustion chambers, creating mechanical noise. Removing them makes the engine noticeably quieter. Cold starts become easier and smoother because injectors spray properly atomized fuel instead of dribbling liquid that floods the cylinders. One clear indicator is exhaust smell during the cleaning process. For the first 80 to 150 kilometers after adding cleaner, you might notice a sharper, slightly acrid exhaust odor. That's accumulated carbon burning off and exiting through the tailpipe. It's completely normal and should disappear once the system is clean. By the time you've gone through 2 complete tanks, the improvements become permanent rather than temporary. Now let's flip the question. What happens if you never clean your fuel system and just let carbon accumulate indefinitely? Your injectors gradually stop spraying a fine mist and start dribbling liquid fuel in uneven droplets. That causes incomplete combustion, wasted fuel passing straight through into the exhaust, and rapid carbon buildup on pistons, valves, and spark plugs. Eventually, your ECU tries to compensate by adjusting air-fuel mixture ratios, which triggers lean or rich condition codes. You'll see check engine lights for bank 1 lean, bank 2 rich, random misfire, or catalyst efficiency below threshold. In extreme neglect cases, you get hard, starting where the engine cranks 8 to 10 seconds before catching, rough running underload, where the car shakes and bucks during acceleration, stalling at idle or when coming to a stop, or that terrifying flashing check engine light indicating active misfire that can destroy your catalytic converter. Mechanics see this pattern constantly in their shops. The typical repair path goes like this. Customer brings car for rough, idle, and poor fuel economy. Shop diagnoses dirty injectors and quotes $350 to $600 for injector cleaning service using professional equipment. If injectors are too far gone, replacement costs $800 to $1,800 depending on the vehicle. If carbon buildup has damaged the catalytic converter from unburned fuel, add another $1,200 to $2,500 for cat replacement. Total bill can easily hit $3,000 to $4,000 for neglect that could have been prevented with $18 bottles of cleaner used every 5,000 kilometers. You can do the math on that return on investment. Then there's the dealership angle that most people never question. When you take your car in for service and they recommend a fuel induction cleaning for $180 to $250, what exactly are they doing? In most cases, they're using a pressurized canister of concentrated PEA-based cleaner connected directly to your fuel rail, bypassing the tank. The active ingredient is chemically identical to what's in Redline SI1 or Techron, just delivered through professional equipment that forces it through the system under pressure for faster results. The advantage is speed, because they're running pure concentrate through your injectors for 15 to 20 minutes while the engine runs. The disadvantage is cost because you're paying for labor and shop markup on the chemical. For the average driver with moderate buildup, using a bottle of high-quality PEA cleaner every few thousand kilometers achieves the same result gradually over time for about 90% less money. Even General Motors acknowledged this in Technical Service Bulletin 04-06-04-051, which specifically recommends Chevron Techron Concentrate Plus as the remedy for injector flow issues before considering injector replacement. In other words, GM's own engineers are telling technicians to try an $18 bottle before spending $1,200 on new injectors. The question becomes, how often should you actually use this stuff? Mechanics who specialize in fuel system service recommend a clear schedule based on driving conditions. For normal driving, add one full bottle every 5,000 to 8,000 kilometers as preventative maintenance. This keeps deposits from ever building up in the first place. Before emissions testing, use one bottle approximately 300 kilometers before your test date. The cleaner combustion significantly reduces hydrocarbon and nitrogen oxide readings, which can mean the difference between passing and failing in areas with strict emission standards. After using low-quality fuel, run a bottle of cleaner immediately in your next tank. Discount gas station fuel often lacks adequate detergent packages, and one tank of bad gas can undo months of keeping your system clean. Before your oil change service, if you're doing an aggressive 2-bottle cleaning cycle, time it so both bottles run through right before your scheduled oil change. This is because trace amounts of carbon particles can work their way past piston rings into the oil during intensive cleaning, and you want to remove that contaminated oil as soon as the cleaning is complete. For high-performance or turbocharged engines that run higher cylinder pressures and temperatures, increase frequency to every 4,000 kilometers because these engines accumulate deposits faster. Following this schedule keeps your entire fuel system continuously clean rather than letting it get dirty and then trying to rescue it. But can this really replace professional-grade injector cleaning equipment? The honest answer is not completely, but close enough for 95% of drivers. Professional machines like BG44K service or motorvac carbon cleaning use high-pressure solvents and sometimes ultrasonic agitation to clean severely clogged injectors in worst-case scenarios. If your injector is so blocked that it's stuck shut or spraying wildly off-pattern, you need professional intervention or replacement. But for typical carbon accumulation that happens over normal driving, high-concentration PEA cleaners achieve equivalent results over the course of 2 to 3 treatment cycles without the risk or expense. Even Nissan acknowledged this in Technical Service Bulletin NTB 13-097A, stating that PEA-based fuel system cleaners can effectively reduce deposits in direct injection systems and restore injector balance when used at recommended intervals. The bulletin specifically recommends this approach before attempting mechanical cleaning services. One detail that rarely gets mentioned is fuel quality's role in all this. Not all gasoline is created equal, even if it has the same octane rating. Top-tier certified fuel contains 2 to 3 times the minimum EPA-required detergent additives. Brands that meet this standard undergo third-party testing to prove their fuel keeps injectors clean over 10,000 kilometers of driving. Non-top-tier fuel, typically discount brands at independent stations, uses only the bare minimum detergent required by law, which isn't enough to prevent carbon buildup in modern engines. If you consistently use cheap gas, you're fighting a losing battle even with the best cleaner additives. One fleet maintenance manager for a delivery company tracked this over 2 years using GPS and fuel purchase data. Vehicles that use top-tier fuel exclusively needed fuel system service once in 160,000 kilometers. Vehicles using discount fuel needed service every 80,000 kilometers on average, doubling maintenance costs. There's also a seasonal consideration most people ignore. Winter gasoline blends contain more butane and lighter hydrocarbons that evaporate easily in cold temperatures as for easier starting. Summer blends use heavier molecules that don't evaporate in heat but leave more residue. That means deposit formation accelerates during summer months, especially in hot climates where fuel literally cooks in your tank and fuel lines between drives. Mechanics in Arizona, Texas, and Florida report seeing carbon buildup issues 40% more frequently than mechanics in cooler states. If you live in a hot climate, increase your PEA cleaner frequency to every 4,000 kilometers as during summer months when fuel degradation happens faster. Now about cost, because everyone wants to know if this is really worth it. One bottle of Redline S I1 costs approximately $18 and treats one tank. If you use it every 5,000 kilometers, that's roughly $54 per year, assuming you drive 15,000 kilometers annually. Compare that to one professional injector cleaning service at $400, or one set of replacement injectors at $1,200, or heaven forbid, a catalytic converter replacement for misfire damage at $2,000. The return on investment is absurdly high. Even if the cleaner only prevents one major repair over the life of your vehicle, it pays for itself 30 times over, and that's ignoring the fuel economy gains. If you improve consumption by even 8%, which was the average improvement seen in mechanic tests, you're saving roughly 0.7 liters per 100 kilometers. At current fuel prices around $1.50 per liter, that's approximately $15 saved per month, or $180 per year. The cleaner pays for itself 3 times over just in fuel savings, before factoring in any repair cost avoidance. One final thing mechanics want you to know: these cleaners don't fix mechanical problems. If your fuel pump is failing, your injectors are electrically dead, your fuel pressure regulator is stuck, or you have vacuum leaks affecting air-fuel mixture, no bottle of chemicals will solve that. PEA cleaners work exclusively on carbon deposits and fuel system varnish. They're a chemical solution to a chemical problem. They won't repair broken springs in injectors, they won't fix cracked fuel lines, and they won't cure ignition system problems. Know what you're treating before you spend money on treatment. If your check engine light is on, get the codes read at an auto parts store for free. If you're seeing misfire codes on one specific cylinder, or fuel trim codes showing the system can't maintain correct mixture, or injector circuit codes indicating electrical problems, chemical cleaning might help. If you're seeing codes for cam position sensors, throttle position, or oxygen sensor heater circuits, you have electrical issues that cleaners can't address. So after reviewing the independent mechanic tests, analyzing the chemistry, comparing the costs, and looking at real-world results, here's the absolute bottom line. There is one bottle that can effectively clean your entire fuel system, and it's Redline SY1 Complete Fuel System Cleaner, because it contains the highest PEA concentration, has consistent documented results in controlled testing, and carries the trust of professional mechanics who have nothing to gain from recommending it. And yes, you can use it safely every 5,000 kilometers to keep injectors, intake valves, and combustion chambers clean without risk of damage. The technique matters as much as the product. Use it on a nearly empty tank, fill with quality fuel, and drive it hard on the highway to generate the heat needed for the chemistry to work. Do that consistently, and you'll never see the inside of a shop for fuel system service. If you've used any of these products before, tell me in the comments. Did you actually feel a measurable difference in how your car ran? Did your idle smooth out, your fuel economy improve, or your acceleration sharpen up? Or do you think these additives are just expensive snake oil with fancy marketing? Let's settle this once and for all. Your real-world experience might save another driver hundreds or thousands of dollars in unnecessary repairs, or help them avoid wasting money on products that don't actually work.